Today, we're going to break down a really specific and honestly pretty insidious form of manipulation. It's one that turns your own memories against you. We're talking about how one single mistake from your past can be turned into a weapon to control your entire present.
You know that feeling, right? You've made a mistake, something you really regret. We all have those moments. The memory just stings, and you're filled with this sense of guilt. You just play it over and over in your head, wishing you could just go back and change it. That feeling? It's totally universal.
But what if that guilt doesn't just fade away? What if someone keeps bringing it up, making it bigger and bigger, and then using it against you? Well, that's when natural regret gets twisted into a powerful tool for control. It's designed to keep you feeling compliant and always doubting yourself. So let's unpack exactly how this emotional weapon gets built.
To really get how this weapon works, we need to look under the hood at the psychological engine that makes it run. This isn't just random cruelty, it's a very calculated pattern. And maybe the most important gear in this entire engine is a psychological phenomenon called trauma bonding.
Now, trauma bonding isn't just some fancy term for being loyal. It is a powerful biological attachment. And the key words here are hormonal and cyclical. This has nothing to do with logic. It's all about body chemistry. This bond gets forged in this environment of intense inconsistency, where awful moments are strategically mixed with moments of kindness.
So what happens is, this creates this crazy emotional roller coaster. The manipulator gives you these unpredictable rewards: affection, apologies, kindness, sprinkled in with all the negative behavior. This is called intermittent reinforcement, and it's the exact same principle that makes slot machines so addictive. You put up with all the lows because you're just desperately hoping for that next unpredictable high.
And okay, this is where it gets really fascinating. On a biological level, this cycle is literally hijacking your brain's reward system. When the manipulator finally shows you kindness after a period of abuse, your brain gets this massive hit of dopamine, the feel-good chemical. This creates a hormonal bond that feels less like a choice and more like a chemical dependency. It's incredibly hard to break. So what happens when you try to call them out on this? When you actually try to hold them accountable? Well, you're probably going to run into a very specific, very powerful defensive strategy. It's an acronym, DARVO. It stands for deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. You can think of it as the manipulator's go-to playbook for escaping any and all accountability. Let's just look at how this plays out in real time. First, they deny reality itself. That never happened. Then they attack you, your credibility. You're just acting crazy. And then for the final twist, they reverse the roles, making themselves the victim. I'm the real victim here. This whole sequence is just devastatingly effective because it makes you question your own sanity. Okay, so we've got trauma bonding and we've got DARVO, but these aren't just isolated tactics happening here and there. They are key parts of a system that just keeps feeding itself, a repeating cycle that turns your own regret into a weapon. And we call this the control loop. Look at how this loop works. It all starts with something simple. You make a mistake. Could be anything, big or small. But then, your natural guilt gets amplified. It's blown up to feel like a complete catastrophe. This is where the manipulation really kicks in, using tactics like DARVO to shift all the blame onto you. The guilt becomes so overwhelming that you find yourself willing to do anything to make it stop, which leads to compliance. You agree to what they want just to get a moment of peace. But here's the trap. Your compliance doesn't fix anything. Instead, your guilt is reinforced. You're basically taught that you are now permanently in their debt. Over time, this just eats away your autonomy. You actually start policing your own behavior, just trying to avoid triggering this whole painful cycle again. You're trapped. Understanding this engine of control is a huge first step, but just knowing about it isn't enough. So how do you actually break free? This next part isn't about blame. It's about empowerment. It's about reclaiming your reality. Let's walk through 7 concrete strategies to do just that. First up, pattern recognition. You have to stop seeing these as one-off arguments and start seeing the repeating cycle. Is DARVO a theme? Is that emotional roller coaster feeling familiar? Second, you've got to separate the facts from the framing. Write down what actually happened, just the facts. Then look at how the story is being spun to make you feel guilty. This creates critical distance, and that's so important. All right, next, you have to actively disrupt the loop. When you feel that familiar spike of guilt, just pause. Don't react right away. You can say, I need some time to think about that. This breaks their momentum. Then you have to set boundaries. You can literally say, we've already talked about this. I'm not going to keep reopening the past. I know it's going to feel hard, but it is absolutely essential for protecting your own mental space. And now for the long-term work. Number 5, Rebuild internal validation. This means you stop letting someone else define your self-worth. You start trusting your own judgment again. And number 6 is a super powerful tool to help with that. Document reality. Keep a private journal of what happens. This isn't to argue with them, it's a concrete record for you to keep you anchored when they try to twist your memory. And finally, number 7 is gradual detachment. Every one of these steps helps you slowly and safely weaken those emotional and hormonal hooks, and that allows you to start pulling away.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? It really comes down to this crucial distinction right here. Healthy connections with partners, family, friends, they don't keep you trapped in your worst moments. They don't use your regrets as leverage. They create a space where you are allowed to learn, to grow, and to become a better version of yourself. Your past should be a lesson, not a life sentence.